Hey there, from the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm your host, Patricia Murphy, with a roundup of today's top stories. It's Wednesday, July 15th. The Denny Blaine Park and nude beach will remain. That's the verdict from a King County Superior Court judge today. But Anna Boyko-Wyrock reports the judge also ruled the city must step up to do more to stop misconduct.
Judge Samuel Chung ruled that lewd conduct at the park created a public nuisance for neighbors. Now, the city must create a plan and code of conduct to keep things appropriate. The city must staff the park, put up signs, and maintain buffers to block nude park users from neighbors' view. This is the latest in a long-standing conflict. Last spring, some neighbors sued, saying the city had failed to address lewd conduct, such as various forms of public sex and masturbation. They asked the judge to temporarily shut down the park. In court, supporters testified that Denny Blaine is a historic nude beach, an important LGBTQ-friendly gathering space. In his verdict, the judge ruled closing the park temporarily would not solve the issue long-term. Anna Boyko-Wyrock, KUOW News.
It's been a busy day for former King County Judge Roger Rogoff, who was appointed as a United States attorney today by federal judges in Washington. He was set to replace Charles Neal Floyd, a controversial former immigration judge who was President Trump's pick for the job. The president never advanced Floyd to the Senate for confirmation, allowing the judges of Washington's Western District to pick a successor. Rogoff was sworn in at 7:40 a.m. and fired within 45 minutes by President Trump, according to the Seattle Times. Rogoff told the Times, "We are working on legal action right now." His team of lawyers is expected to sue the administration and the U.S. Department of Justice. Speaking of President Trump, United States Representative Adam Smith of Washington State is calling for President Trump to be removed from office. He said in a recent video statement,
"I don't love impeachment as a strategy. I voted to impeach Trump twice. Neither time did it work out particularly well. But we have to make the case that Donald Trump has completely lost it."
The Washington Democrat then went on to question the president's sanity. He said Trump's recent calls for the U.S. to take over the Strait of Hormuz are jeopardizing global stability. Plus, the recent and ongoing deadly shootings here involving federal immigration agents are putting U.S. citizens' lives in danger. He closed by saying the president's anticipated speech tomorrow night about election security and interference is further proof he's in the middle of an authoritarian takeover of the United States. Now that Seattle is done hosting World Cup games, people are starting to ask, was it worth the investment? That may take months to answer, but in the meantime, data is starting to trickle in and a picture is forming. Joshua McNichols has more.
There's a company called Placer AI that tracks people's cell phones, and it says more than 3 million people visited downtown Seattle on the 6 days when the city hosted World Cup matches. On the surface, that's only 17% more people than visited during the same days last year, but the actual number of visitors is probably much higher. That's because the company measuring these crowds only monitors the phones of domestic visitors. The company doesn't have digital records of Europeans, where data privacy laws are much stronger. The highest numbers of visitors came when the U.S. played Australia and Belgium. Those matches each brought more than 500,000 people, again, not including Europeans. Joshua McNichols, KUOW News.
Washington State is one step closer to being on year-round daylight saving time. Members of the U.S. House passed the Sunshine Protection Act yesterday, but the U.S. Senate would need to approve it as well before it can become law. Washington State passed a bill in 2019 to keep Washington on permanent daylight saving time, but it can't be implemented without congressional approval. 18 other states have also adopted measures to switch to year-round daylight saving time. The National Weather Service has issued a fire weather watch for the Cascades and the Olympics because of thunderstorms that are in the forecast for today. Those storms could produce lightning strikes that could spark wildfires, and wind gusts up to 50 miles an hour could make things worse. The warning will be in place between tonight and tomorrow night. Bellingham could soon vote on a ballot initiative to ban landlords from using software to analyze and suggest rent prices. KNKX Murrow News fellow Nate Sanford has more.
Price-setting software uses public and private market data to give landlords recommendations on how much to charge for units. But critics argue that the tools enable a form of collusion and price fixing. Cleveland Harris is the chair of Community First Whatcom, the group that gathered signatures for the initiative. He says the software can have a ripple effect, prompting landlords who aren't using it to raise prices to stay competitive.
Even if we don't have a fine tooth of who is exactly using it and how, we know that the fact that it's being used is having a negative effect on rental prices.
Seattle, Spokane, and King County have passed similar laws targeting price-setting algorithms. The Bellingham City Council will decide later this month on whether to pass the initiative into law or send it to voters for the November ballot. I'm Nate Sanford, reporting.
Numbers from the Washington State Department of Health reported today reveal the scope of the viral explosive diarrhea disease in our state. Spoiler alert, it's rare. Health officials told KUOW News our state does not have a cyclosporiasis outbreak, unlike other states. Cyclosporiasis is a gastrointestinal disease that causes explosive diarrhea. People can get it from contaminated produce. Since May, officials estimate there have been 27 cases in the state. They say none of those are associated with the ongoing outbreak in other states. There have also been 0 hospitalizations or deaths in Washington. Following up on our DNA testing story from this morning, the Washington State Attorney General's office is receiving money from a data breach settlement with DNA genetic testing company 23andMe. The massive 2023 data breach affected more than 220,000 customers in Washington. The state will receive $547,000 in the 40-plus state settlement, according to the Seattle Times. The settlement will be used by the state attorney general's office to fund future consumer protection investigations and enforcement efforts. Consumers affected by the breach will receive payouts from a separate class action lawsuit. Next time on Seattle Now, Seattle has many self-guided walking tours. We'll talk about 2 new ones focused on hip-hop history and the soundtrack that made it possible.
Sir Mix-a-Lot's albums are absolutely wonderful. They're full of local references. He talks about places in the Central District.
Hear more Thursday morning. Oh, and hey, before we wrap up, quick question. This week on the show, we're asking you what surprised you about the World Cup in Seattle. Share your answer in the KUOW app. Just open the menu and select Talk to Us. More at KUOW.org/question. That's all for today from the KUOW newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Vaughn Jones, and I'm Patricia Murphy. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. See you later.